That means you see a future with this woman. There's an opportunity with this woman. That means you need to put your best foot forward with this woman.
Come on.
Now the date don't gotta be, you feel me, a couple $1,000s.
In the world of fame, secrets don't stay buried. They just wait to explode. Tonight's story isn't about glitter or Grammy nights. It's about betrayal, power, and one woman who finally said enough. Sorty, the icy queen herself, has allegedly dropped a list that's shaking the entire hip-hop industry. A list naming rappers who used her, betrayed her, and threatened her behind the scenes. It's the kind of revelation that doesn't just trend, it tears masks off. Because for years, Sorty played the industry game with a smile. But what happens when the game turns dark? When the same men who praised her in public tried to silence her in private? This is the story of a woman who chose truth over fear, and how her silence ended up being the loudest scream of all. It all began on a quiet Sunday night, the kind of night when social media feels half asleep, and only the insomniacs are scrolling. Then suddenly, chaos. A tweet from an unverified account appeared with a single sentence. Sorty just exposed everyone. The list is real. At first, nobody believed it. Rumors like that show up every week, usually fake, usually exaggerated. But then came the screenshots. Private messages. DMs. Blurred out names that fans began connecting to familiar profiles. And in the middle of it all, one headline that stopped everything. Sorty allegedly leaks list of rappers who blackmailed her into silence. The internet exploded. Within minutes, Sorty was trending worldwide. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. Not the bubbly, glamorous Sorty who smiled through heartbreak and turned pain into platinum hits. Not the girl who told her fans, never let them see you sweat. But that's the thing about the music industry. Behind the bright lights, it's darker than anyone wants to admit. For years, Sorty had built her image on confidence and class. Her lyrics dripped with empowerment, independence, self-worth, luxury. She made pretty look powerful. But what people didn't see was the price of being that woman in an industry run by egos. According to insiders, the list didn't come out of nowhere. It was a breaking point, months, maybe years, of pressure finally snapping. Behind closed doors, there had been whispers. Male rappers who tried to control her career, sabotage her collaborations, even threatened to leak private moments if she didn't stay in line. One insider told the Shade Circle, "She kept quiet for too long. They thought she'd never talk. But she's not scared anymore." The first few names blurred on that alleged list were enough to send shockwaves through the community. Fans noticed initials, one starting with a Q, another with an L, and a third that looked eerily like a superstar producer's handle. People started guessing. YouTubers made hour-long breakdowns. Twitter detectives connected lyrics, studio sessions, and old photos. But through all the noise, Sorty stayed silent. She didn't confirm it. She didn't deny it. Instead, she posted a single message on her Instagram story. "Truth always finds its way out. I'm just done being quiet." That single post changed everything. Her fans, the Icy Gang, rallied instantly. They flooded social media with love, turning her pain into a movement. But the industry? It went dead silent. No one wanted to comment. No one wanted to take sides. Because everyone knew, if Sorty really did have evidence, this could be one of the biggest scandals in hip-hop history. Behind the scenes, reporters started digging deeper. They traced the leaks back to a private group chat that had been circulating among industry insiders. Messages showing how certain rappers tried to blackball Sorty after her split from a high-profile artist. They called her difficult. They called her fake. They said she'd never make it without a man's cosign. But what nobody realized was that Sorty had been documenting everything. Every message. Every threat. Every fake smile. She had receipts, and according to sources, that list was just the beginning. Those who knew her personally said this moment didn't come from anger, it came from exhaustion. She had kept her composure through betrayal, heartbreak, and public humiliation. She'd smiled through interviews, dodged gossip, and carried herself like royalty. But behind those designer shades, she was breaking. And when you've been pushed too far, silence becomes suffocating. A close friend revealed. She wasn't trying to destroy anyone. She just wanted to be free. She wanted to stop pretending that everything was okay. That freedom, that decision to finally speak, came at a price. Within hours of the alleged list leaking, Sorty's team began receiving legal threats. Anonymous accounts started posting private videos. Her family got harassing calls. It was a warning. A message to stay quiet. Or else. But it was too late. The story was already out. By morning, every gossip site had a headline. Sorty's secret industry war exposed. Rappers fear fallout after Sorty's shocking allegations. Even those who once ignored her music were now paying attention. And as always, opinions split fast. Some accused her of lying, calling it a publicity stunt to stay relevant. Others said she was brave, a woman finally reclaiming her power from an industry that tried to bury her. But Sorty didn't need their validation. Because what most people didn't realize was, this wasn't a moment of revenge. It was a confession of survival. She knew what was coming next, the backlash. The trolling. The fake apologies from people who'd wronged her. But she also knew something deeper. Truth doesn't need an audience. It just needs courage. And that night, as the world dissected every pixel of that list, Sorty was somewhere quiet, sitting alone, staring out a hotel window. She didn't cry. She didn't post. She just whispered to herself, "Let the truth speak now." And it did. Because what came next, in part 2, wasn't just chaos online. It was war in the boardrooms. It was calls between managers and labels trying to bury the story. It was former friends turning into enemies, and one unexpected person stepping up to defend her. Someone nobody saw coming. The morning after the list leaked, the world woke up to chaos. Bloggers were posting non-stop. Talk shows were dissecting every word. Hashtags like #IsaLeaks, #ProtectSorty, and #IndustryExposed dominated Twitter. But inside the quiet halls of record labels, behind tinted office windows, panic was spreading faster than the tweets. Because the names on that list weren't random. They were men with power, hitmakers, producers, chart-topping rappers. Some of them had built careers off Sorty's collaborations. Others had built their egos off trying to control her. Now, their secrets were dangling over the fire. Phone lines buzzed. Lawyers were called. PR teams scrambled to prepare statements in case things got worse. And behind it all, Sorty sat in her apartment, alone. The city outside was loud, but her world was quiet. That kind of silence that only comes after you've detonated something you can't take back. Her manager, Mel, was pacing across the room. "You know they're gonna come after you, right?" she said. "Let them," Sorty replied softly. "They came for me first." There was no fear in her voice, just exhaustion. The kind that comes when you've spent years swallowing pain for the sake of peace. Within hours, rumors started spreading that 2 major artists mentioned on the alleged list had already called their lawyers. One of them even posted on Instagram, "Stop believing lies. People do anything for relevance." That comment section turned into a war zone. Fans fired back with old screenshots, old lyrics, and suspiciously timed collaborations that suddenly looked very different in the light of this new story. The internet had become a battlefield, one where truth, lies, and reputation were all fighting for survival. But while the world debated, Sorty stayed silent. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was power. Because while everyone was talking, she was listening. Watching who defended her, and who disappeared. And that's when something unexpected happened. Late that evening, a familiar name popped up on her phone. A message from someone she hadn't spoken to in years, a rapper she once trusted but had fallen out with after her breakup. The message was short. "You did the right thing. I got your back." It was Cardi B. The internet didn't know about this quiet alliance forming in the shadows. Cardi knew exactly what it meant to be a woman in a male-dominated industry. The manipulation, the whisper campaigns, the fake smiles from people waiting for your downfall. So when she saw what was happening to Sorty, she didn't hesitate. Within a day, Cardi liked a few posts with the #ProtectSorty. Then she unfollowed 2 producers who had been publicly dismissing the list. Fans noticed immediately. The connection was made. And just like that, the tide began to turn. But the backlash was far from over. Sorty's phone started ringing non-stop, not from friends, but from executives. "Take the post down. Release a statement saying it's fake. Think about your brand. This could ruin everything." But she refused. She didn't deny it. She didn't confirm it either. She just let the truth hang there, quiet, uncomfortable, impossible to ignore. The pressure kept building. She started losing endorsements. A beauty brand quietly paused a campaign. One music platform pulled her from a playlist pending investigation. It was punishment, not for lying, but for speaking. And that's when Sorty finally broke her silence again. She went live on Instagram. No makeup, no filters, no PR-approved tone. Just raw emotion. When you're a woman in this industry, they love you when you smile and stay quiet, she said. But the moment you speak your truth, they call you crazy, bitter, or desperate. I'm none of that. I'm just tired. Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. They can take my deals, my songs, whatever. But they can't take my story. I lived it. I survived it. And I'm done protecting people who never protected me. The chat exploded. Hearts, fire emojis, and the words "We love you, icy girl" flooded the screen. For the first time in days, Sorty smiled. That live changed everything. News outlets picked it up instantly. The next morning, headlines read, "Sorty breaks down, speaks out after industry backlash." Women in music rally behind Sorty after emotional live. Other female artists started sharing cryptic posts of support, some subtle, some bold. Even Megan Thee Stallion tweeted, "Silence don't protect you. Truth does." Medium skin tone nail polish hand #Isa strong. And suddenly, what began as a scandal was turning into something bigger, a movement. Behind the scenes, though, not everyone was happy. A major label executive reportedly told a journalist off the record, "If she keeps this up, she'll never get booked again." Another producer leaked a private clip of Sorty at a studio, trying to make her look unstable. But fans weren't buying it anymore. They had seen too much. They stood by her. Because now, this wasn't just about Sorty. It was about every woman in the industry who had ever been silenced, manipulated, or blackmailed into silence. That night, Sorty sat with her team and made a decision that would change everything. She looked at Mel, her manager, and said quietly, "If they want to ruin me for telling the truth, then I'll burn it all myself. But this time, I'll tell the story my way." Mel frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean," she said, looking straight ahead, "it's time for the world to hear everything, unfiltered." And just like that, Sorty began working on something the industry couldn't control, a documentary. A raw, uncut visual story titled Unfrozen. Part confession, part evidence, part healing. It would show everything, from her rise, to the manipulation, to the moment she found her voice again. But before she could even announce it publicly, something else happened, something darker. Her cloud storage was hacked. Private footage started circulating online, clips that were never meant to see the light of day. The goal was clear: destroy her before she could speak again. But instead of fear, Sorty felt clarity. Because if they were that desperate to silence her, then maybe, just maybe, her truth was more powerful than she'd ever realized. And that's where the real story begins, as Part 3 takes us into the heart of the chaos, the hacking, the betrayals, the celebrity reactions, and how Sorty fought back harder than ever, not with anger, but with truth. The internet was burning again. This time, not from rumors, but from revenge. Within hours of Sorty's iCloud hack, clips began spreading across Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok. Private studio footage, screenshots, voice notes, the kind of things meant to humiliate someone into silence. But instead of collapsing, Sorty stood taller than ever. The same girl they once called too polished, too quiet, too brand safe was now the center of a digital storm. And somehow, she wasn't drowning in it. She was controlling it. Her team begged her to go offline. "Let us handle it," Mel said, pacing the room, eyes wide with panic. "No," Sorty replied. "They want me to hide. I'm done hiding." That night, she opened her phone, hit record, and spoke with a calm that felt almost eerie. "You wanted to expose me? You can't expose what I've already survived." Her words were soft, but they hit like thunder. She looked straight into the camera. "Everything you leaked? It's real. Every text, every voice note, every lie they told to break me. All of it happened. And you know what? I'm still here. I'm still icy." That clip went viral in minutes. Hashtags like #IcyUnbroken, #SortaSpeaks, and #WeBelieveHer flooded social media. Celebrities began reposting. Even Nicki Minaj, who rarely comments on scandals, liked a post that said, "No woman deserves to be blackmailed for fame." But while the internet was rallying around her, the industry was trembling. Because Sorty wasn't just threatening reputations anymore, she was threatening systems. Behind closed doors, executives whispered, "If she talks, we're all finished." And she did talk. The next day, she dropped the teaser for her upcoming documentary Unfrozen. A single caption read, "You tried to break me. Now watch me rebuild." The trailer featured blurred faces, snippets of text messages, and audio recordings. But one voice stood out, a man's voice saying, "If you tell anyone, you'll never work in this town again." The fans recognized it instantly. It was one of the biggest rappers in the game, a man known for chart-topping hits and a spotless public image. The internet exploded. He denied it. His label threatened lawsuits. But it was too late. The damage was done. The night the trailer dropped, Sorty appeared at the BET Awards. She walked the red carpet in a diamond-encrusted dress, shimmering like she owned the storm around her. Reporters shouted questions. She just smiled and said, "I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm here to remind people I'm still standing." That image of her walking, head high, after weeks of chaos, became iconic. A woman reclaiming her narrative. Behind the glitz, though, the war wasn't over. A group of powerful insiders tried to have her blacklisted. Events quietly uninvited her. Collaborations disappeared overnight. But then, something beautiful happened. Women from all over the industry, singers, models, influencers, even former rivals, started coming forward with their own stories. They weren't naming names yet, but their messages echoed the same pain, the same manipulation, the same silence. Suddenly, Sorty's story wasn't just hers, it was every woman's story. A few weeks later, when Unfrozen finally premiered on streaming, the numbers were staggering. Millions watched within 24 hours. The documentary didn't just expose the people who tried to destroy her, it exposed the machine that allowed it to happen. There were recordings of label executives coercing her. Screenshots showing producers demanding favors in exchange for features. And emails proving that when she tried to speak up years ago, she was told to let it go or risk her career. Every scene was raw, unedited, painful. Viewers cried. Commentators were speechless. And the industry had no defense left. After the premiere, Sorty trended for days. Not as a victim, but as a survivor. She released a new single the same night, titled Unbreakable. It wasn't about revenge, it was about freedom. Lyrics that hit straight to the heart. "You tried to chain my name in pain, but I turned my scars to diamonds again." It debuted at #1 on iTunes within hours. She didn't need anyone's approval anymore. The people had chosen her. Weeks later, an unexpected scene played out at a major music festival. Sorty was performing on the main stage, her first public show since the scandal. As the beat dropped, the crowd chanted her name. But in the front row, fans noticed something shocking: Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion standing together, cheering her on. Three women who had once been competitors were now united by something much deeper: truth, strength, and survival. And as Sorty finished her performance, she whispered into the mic, "This one's for every girl they tried to silence." The crowd roared. Fireworks exploded. And just like that, the icy girl had melted her pain into power. That night, as Sorty sat backstage, still trembling from the adrenaline, Mel walked in and said, "You did it, Icy. You didn't just tell your story, you changed the game." Sorty smiled faintly. "Nah," she said. "I just reminded them who I really am." She picked up her phone, posted one final message to Instagram. "Never let anyone write your story for you. Gemstone." And with that, the girl they tried to silence became the woman who started a movement. Because the truth is simple, they thought leaking her secrets would destroy her. Instead, it set her free. In a world where fame looks flawless, truth is the one thing nobody wants to touch. Sorty didn't leak that list to destroy careers, she did it to reclaim her soul. To remind everyone watching that behind the filters, behind the hit records, behind the diamond chains, there's still a human being who bleeds, breaks, and rebuilds. And maybe that's the real message: you can silence a voice, but you can't bury truth. What they meant for shame became her freedom. What they used for power became her testimony. And what they thought would end her only made her legendary. So tonight, when you scroll past another headline or watch another rumor go viral, remember this: stories aren't just gossip. They are warnings. They are survival. Because for every Sorty out there, there's a girl sitting in silence, wondering if anyone would believe her story too. And maybe now, after all this, they finally will. If this story moved you, don't just scroll. Drop her in the comments for Sorty. And subscribe for more real stories that the cameras didn't dare to show. This isn't the end of her story. It's just the beginning of her truth. This is the Story Vault, where every secret finds its voice.